Welcome to the Reinvent Your Life podcast, the show that talks about why we do what we do and how we can do it better.
Welcome to the Reinvent Your Life podcast. My name is Chaz Molesky, and today we're going to talk about rules, and specifically the rules that you live by every single day. And we all live by rules, or a certain set of guiding principles that we've given ourselves over the years and things that we've learned through life. So a lot of times this is a result of just how you're raised, how you're brought up, right? You learn certain things, you learn ways to interact with the world that are given to you from a young age, and it forms your developmental mind to know what is correct, what is good versus what is not, or what not to do, right? And these guiding principles, these rules, they shape everything that you do. They shape the habits that you have. They shape the foods that you eat. They shape the actions that you take in a day. They shape your reactions or your responses to things. They shape everything. So it's very important to know exactly what your rules for life are, what your guiding principles are, but also to dive in and figure out, are these the rules that I need to get what I want? Because that's a very important distinction to make. Because you can have rules and you can live by a certain set of rules and standards and defining principles, but if it's not helping you and it's only holding you back, maybe it's time to rewrite the rules. So that's what I want to do today. I want you to dive into your rules, and I want you to figure out, okay, are these rules viable for everything that I want to accomplish in my life? Or am I living by a set of rules that might be outdated or I've outgrown? And it's totally, completely possible that that is the case. So before we even get into changing it and fixing and reworking these rules, we have to actually break down what our rules are. And we have to figure them out in real time. So a rule is something that you set up in your life or in your actions that you take, or even if you're thinking about taking an action, there is a rule in place that says, I have to do X, I have to be X in order to get Y, or to have Y to reach Y, all right? And now the rules that we put on there are usually thought of in absolutes. So what that means is no matter what's going on, no matter what happens, I will follow the rule. So let's say you have a rule on love. We'll do relationships today, all right? So say you have a rule on love, and the rule on love says, in order for me to give all of my love to somebody, they have to first prove to me that they love me, all right? Now, not an inherently bad rule, depending how it's used, but a lot of times this is a slippery slope and it runs away, because how do you know if somebody truly loves you or not? You have to trust them, right? But you also have to have the feeling of being loved, but that is completely subjective to your definition. See, they could be loving you in their best way, as best as they could, but if you never feel loved, that rule isn't being met. So you'll hold back and you won't give completely to that other person or in that relationship because you have that rule established. And this extends to all different fields, all different things that are going on in your life. What are the rules that you hold about your job, about your family, about your kids, about you, about what's possible for you? All right, what are the rules that are governing your daily actions that are carrying you through this life? Because once you can break this down, you can see, okay, this is a good rule. So for example, let's say in your job, you're very successful in your career, right? And one of your rules that you've set up for work and everything that you're doing, say one of the rules is that when I go into work, no matter my circumstances, I'm going to give 100%. And the rule of the day is, if I've not given 100%, I have to find a way to get there by the end of the day. Let's say that's your rule, all right? If that's the case, you're always going to find a way to get up to that, all right? It's borderline rules and a standard, right? It's a standard that you hold for yourself, but it's a rule that you've put on it. So say because of that standard, because of giving 100%, because of you, and it's just that's how you operate, if that's your standard and that's your rule, let's say somebody comes up to you and asks for a favor at work, all right? And your rule that you have established on that in order for you to give your best and do your best, you just show up and work, because that's who you are, okay? So let's say that rule says somebody comes up, gives you extra work to do. Well, you're going to give 100% on that extra work because that's your rule, right? You've set that up and you've already come to terms, you've established it, you've agreed. This rule could be beneficial. Say it's gotten you extra bonus points, say it's gotten you raises or promotions, But it could also be detrimental, right? Because if you give 100% to every single person that brings you work or something extra to do, well, eventually you're going to burn out. And you're not going to be able to give 100% no matter how bad you want to. And now you're going to violate your own rules and your own standards because you're pushing yourself past the point of burnout. So you have to be careful about the rules that you're establishing for yourself, all right? So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to go through and I want you to figure out your rules. What are your rules at work for you to give your best? What are your rules in a relationship to give your best? Okay, what has to happen in order for you to give your best in all fields of your life, all right? I want family, I want relationships, I want career, I want finances, I want all of it. Break this stuff down. What are the rules that you live by in these departments? And then pick out which ones are not helping you, because there will definitely be something in there somewhere. If you're feeling unfulfilled, if you're feeling like there's more for your life and you're not achieving it, there's a rule that you have in place that you're not meeting or that you're meeting consistently and it's not helping you. So find that, because that's what we're going to rewrite. Because when you can rewrite the rule, you can change the outcome. All right. So once you find it, the key to rewriting your rules is to pull out the part that's impacting you negatively. Okay. So if something is being detrimental to you. So let's say we use that relationship one from earlier, all right? In order for me to give all of my love to somebody, I have to know that they love me back. All right, so instead of that, what if it's I have to trust that they love me back? Because that's a completely different question that you have to ask yourself is, what has to happen for me to trust this person? Which is a lot easier than what has to happen for me to know I'm being loved. Because if we don't have our definition of love or we don't know how we can feel loved, then it's very hard to actually make that distinction. Okay, so we're changing the rule just a little bit, but it's still going to change everything about it, all right? So if the rule changes from, in order to give all my love to somebody, I have to know that they love me back. If we change that rule and we say, every day I wake up, I'm going to give love to this person. I'm going to show love to this person regardless of what they do for me. That's just a state of abundant love. That's just you being in love with the person because you are in love with that person. Now, do you think if you do that, your life's going to get easier or worse, harder? Do you think that if you go that route and you have that own conversation in your head and you change that rule, that you'll interact differently with your partner or spouse? And do you think if you change that rule, you would find a sense of peace or calm every time you're confronted with a curiosity or a wondering of, does this person love me? Chances are probably yes. But how you change the rule is completely up to you. So I want you to take some time, go through, figure out what rules do I need to change? What do I need to switch around? What needs to be different than how I'm interacting now? And once you can figure that out, once you can break that all down and pull it apart, then you'll have a little roadmap to knowing, okay, if I change this rule with just a couple words, all right, or just partial sentence that's in there that's got to be moved around, if I can change this, what could this do for my life? And then you can work backwards, all right? So go through, pick out at least one, okay, at least one rule, 2 preferably. Any more than that, you're really going to town, which is fine. Go for it, all right? But it's very important to get clear on the rules that need to be changed and how to change them. All right, so if you know anybody who can benefit from this, as always, please send them this podcast or at least tell them about it. Give them the opportunity to reinvent their life as well. If you have anything for me, any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to hear on a podcast, shoot me an email, chaz@riseabovelifecoaching.com. You can find me on social, same thing, Rise Above Life Coaching, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. Take what you learned, apply it, and reinvent your life. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Reinvent Your Life podcast. Now go out and apply what you just heard to start your reinvention. Please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with those that need it most.